In a nest in a hole in a big willow tree, there lived a very sleepy duckling named Mimi. She was a happy little duck with fluffy yellow wings and a bright orange bill. She loved to sing with the birds and hum as the frogs croaked their rumbly songs. But if there's one thing Mimi loved more than anything else, it was sleep. Mimi went to bed early and always slept late. The other ducks were already down by the pond, frolicking around in the morning light by the time Mimi woke up each day. She would look out of her window and see them splashing happily in the water. She would yawn and stretch, knowing she'd meet up with them in her own time. She didn't mind sleeping through those extra hours of playtime each day. She didn't mind missing breakfast with her friends. But there was one thing Mimi did mind. While she slept, all the other little ducklings took swimming lessons. They could already sail out onto the pond using their orange feet to paddle. They could float with the swans and bob in circles around the lily pads. And every day, Mimi had to watch from the water's edge, because she didn't know how to swim. Oh, how she longed to kick her feet and feel herself glide through the water. She wanted to splash and dive beneath the surface like a fish or a mermaid. But because she hadn't learned to swim yet, she had to keep her feet planted firmly on the ground. And so, Mimi decided today was the day she would finally learn to swim. Mimi lay on her warm, soft bed. Her nest was cozy and still. There were no sounds coming from the pond yet. Like Mimi, all the other ducklings were fast asleep, and their parents were enjoying a quiet morning by the water. The first rays of sunlight were just beginning to peek through the lacy white curtains on her window. Normally, Mimi kept her curtains shut tight, but today she wanted to wake up early, so she left them open the tiniest bit before going to bed last night. Now, Mimi felt the warmth of the morning sun on her cheeks. With her eyes still closed, she yawned and stretched her little wings above her head. Then she opened her eyes one by one. "What time is it?" Mimi asked the sun. Of course, the sun didn't answer, but she knew by its rays it must be well before noon. "I don't think I've ever been awake this early before," she said, as she sat up in bed. She blinked slowly, adjusting to the light. How she wished she could go back to sleep. Her bed was so soft and inviting. The pillows were fluffy and the blankets were warm. Perhaps she could snuggle down for just a few moments more. Mimi shook her head. "It's time to get up," she told herself. "It's time to learn how to swim." And so, she let the blankets drop from her wings and put her feet down on the floor. she waddled into the living room and groomed her downy feathers until they were nice and smooth. As she got ready to leave the nest, Mimi quacked with excitement. She was going to learn how to swim today. Now it was time to head down to the pond. With her little feet, Mimi didn't walk anywhere quickly. She waddled with short steps, her body swaying from side to side. As she moved, she quacked a little tune, keeping time with her footsteps. Quack, 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 she went as she marched down the hill. By now, the rest of the animals who lived at the pond were starting to wake up. Mimi saw them beginning their day just as she made her way towards the water. A bunny hopped out from behind a tree. "Why, hello there. I'm going to learn how to swim," Mimi told the bunny. It wiggled its nose and thumped its paws, and then hopped back into the forest. A beautiful blue jay soared down from a branch, twittering to Mimi. "I'm going to learn how to swim today," she called up to the bird. It flapped in a circle above her head and then flew back up to its perch. Just then, Mimi heard the soft quacking of another little duck. She recognized the voice. It was her friend, Daphne. Mimi waved. "I'm going to learn how to swim," she told Daphne. "How exciting," the other duckling said. "May I come along?" Mimi was happy to have the company, especially on a big day like today. Together, the friends waddled down the hill until they reached the sand at the edge of the pond. There, Mimi's father sat, sunning his feathers on a rock. "Why, you're up early today, Mimi," her father said. "Do you have something special planned?" "Yes, Papa," she said. "I'm going to learn how to swim." Her father quacked his approval. "Just be careful when you're out on the water," he said, "and stay close to your teacher." "I will, Papa," Mimi promised. The swimming instructor was an older swan who lived on the other side of the pond. She was large and white, with sleek feathers that reminded Mimi of the lace curtains on her window. She had a long, thin neck that curved at the top. Whenever she honked instructions to the little ducklings, she peered down at them over her thin orange bill. "Hello, Mimi," the instructor said. Mimi waved her little wings. "I'm here to learn how to swim," she told the swan. "And Daphne came to help me." The first thing she had to do was practice how to float, her teacher said. The swan escorted Mimi and Daphne into the shallowest part of the pond. If Mimi wanted to, she could still touch the bottom. So it was a safe place to learn. Daphne waded into the water and then tucked her little legs up under her belly. She was floating. Mimi couldn't wait to try. Slowly, she followed her friend's example. At first, she was worried about lifting her feet up off the bottom. What if she floated away? "You're safe with me," her instructor said. "I'm right here to catch you if you float too far." Mimi was determined to try. She lifted up her right leg. For a moment, she stood on the bottom with one foot, while the other was bent beneath her. How funny she must look, she thought. Almost like a flamingo. And then, carefully, she lifted her left leg. She tipped a little to one side and then to the other. But soon, she was steady. Mimi looked down. Beneath her, there was only water. She was floating too. "Well done," said the swan. "It was very brave of you to try and float. And the first step is always the hardest." Mimi quacked with joy. She couldn't wait to see what came next. Now that she knew how to float, Mimi had a bit of confidence. She could really do this. The swan told her that in order to move while she floated, she had to use her webbed feet like paddles. But Mimi didn't understand what that meant. "Watch me," said Daphne. "I can show you." Her friend moved one foot behind her body, while the other kicked in front. Back and forth, her legs swooped beneath her. Every time she kicked, her webbed feet pushed the water and it propelled her forward. Mimi gave it a try. Gently, she untucked her left foot and stuck it out beneath her. But she didn't move forward. She just spun a little to one side. She brought her foot back up under her belly. Maybe her right side would work better. She untucked it. Just the same. Instead of swimming, she bobbed up and down in the water like a cork, spinning this way and that. "Oh dear," Mimi cried. "I'll never learn how to swim." Daphne paddled over and put her wing around Mimi. "Don't worry, Mimi," her friend said. "I didn't get it the first try either." Perhaps Daphne was right. Maybe she just had to try again. She ruffled her feathers back into place. She looked at the pond, stretching out before her. All she had ever wanted was to swim across it by herself. She longed to paddle around the lily pads and sail with the swans. Slowly, she kicked one leg out behind her. Then, she brought the other down. Up and down, she moved her legs, as though she were marching on solid ground. Left foot up, right foot down. Right foot up, left foot down. Mimi was so lost in concentration, she didn't even notice that she'd started to move. It wasn't until she heard Daphne behind her, quacking with delight, that she realised what she'd done. Mimi was swimming. She felt the power in each of her little legs and the ripple of water beneath her belly. She watched as the trees seemed to move along the banks to the rhythm of her strokes. "I'm swimming," she called back to Daphne. "I'm really swimming." She paddled straight for a little while and then tried turning around a log. She went round one side and then the other, weaving this way and that along the edge of the pond. She swam in circles and figure eights, in zigzags and straight lines. It was the most wonderful feeling in the whole world, gliding across the pond, free to move wherever she wanted. Mimi and Daphne swam together for a long time, under the watchful eye of their swimming instructor. But after all of the excitement, they grew tired and headed back to shore. Once she was back on dry land, Mimi waddled over to the swan. "Thank you for teaching me how to swim," she said. The swan patted Mimi with the tip of her large wing. "I'm proud of you," her instructor said. "Even though you didn't get it right the first time, you tried again. That's how we all learn new things." Now that Mimi had learned to swim, she had so much more to look forward to. Every day, she could meet her friends here at the pond. And instead of watching from the shore, she could join them, splashing playfully in the water. Mimi yawned. The thought of swimming a single stroke more was making her tired. It had been a long day. What she needed was a nap before dinner. She thanked Daphne for all of her help and began to waddle back up the hill toward home. On the way, she passed the blue jay high in the tree and the bunny hopping in the grass. "I learned to swim," she told them proudly. The bird tweeted a song of joy and danced in the air above her, all the way back to her nest. Once inside, Mimi ruffled her feathers and yawned again. She stretched her wings up toward the sky and felt her eyelids grow heavy. Mimi plopped down onto her bed. Her legs were tired from all the swimming. She was grateful to snuggle deep into her warm blankets and rest them for a while. As she lay there, she thought about how amazing it felt to be free on the water. Now Mimi knew that if she tried and tried, she could really do anything. And with the memory of her first swim drifting through her mind, she fell into a deep and contented sleep.